in this lesson, we'll start finalizing the arms as the character exits the scene. What we're going to do is have the arms move in a clockwise type of manner prior to the character going into this final pose. Okay, and then we'll want to move them a little bit more so that they're just not still as the character leaves the scene. So let's go ahead and get right to it. Go to our perspective camera, and we'll want to even show the graph editor too to see what's going on. Okay, so just as the character is bringing his arms down on 236, let's switch our follow switch to world, and we could even take care of that with the left arm too. After selecting it, it may be a little bit easier to select on 235, and then we'll just move to 236 and switch the follow switch to world for the left arm too. So that's already taken care of. Now going back to select the right arm, we'll start working on the circular pattern for it. So we'll bring it out. And remember, the silhouette is really going to make a big difference here, so we want to make sure that that's going to be strong. So as the character brings his arm down, we could start having him bring his wrist down as well on 236. Then on 237, we can have him bring that arm back, rotate the wrist up for follow through as the arm's coming back. On 238, we could have that arm start to move back. The wrist we can rotate down. And then by 239, can bring the arm up and fix the rotation of the wrist so that the hands rotated down a little bit more. We also want to correct the elbow here too, so we can move that out and also move the arm out. We may want to add just one more pose in here. Let's see. Before we even do that, on 237 we can possibly bring in the arm a little bit closer, or a little bit more forward, so we can get a nice arc. So bring it out a little bit more, but we do want to be mindful of the character silhouette, so we can go to the shot cam, and that's looking quite nice. On 238 we can bring down the hand some here. Maybe even bring it back a little bit more. Okay, 239 is looks pretty good. And then we can add another in between, okay, where we have just a little bit more space so that it doesn't look too snappy when the character goes into that final arm pose. So, can basically select this. You have a number of ways. You can either use your keyframe marking menu. If we were to use it here, we'll just go to our perspective camera. If we were to use it here, notice what is going to happen. We'll just hold Shift S, hold the left mouse button, and we'll select Add In Between, making sure that our time frame marker is on frame 40. Okay, notice we have added that space with this key, but we've also shifted down the rest of our keys one frame as well. So we could always select the very last keys, hold Shift, and middle mouse button, click and drag one frame to our left to fix that. Great, now we have some space to add one more pose on frame 240 now. So we'll just bring up the arm here. And let's rotate the wrist down. So that as he goes into the pose on frame 241, we have a nice little snap there. Okay, great. Now let's go to our shot cam to look at this. It looks like we might run into a little bit of a silhouette problem with the hands, because we're going to want to pose out the fingers. So what we'll want to do is just add a little bit of space here between our left and right arm. We can go to our Translate Y. Let's go ahead and take this key and just bring that down just a little bit more. Great. And then we could even add a little bit of movement as the character's exiting the scene, maybe having the arm on about 248, move up just a little bit. And then we could have the wrist rotate down, just so everything's not still. And then on 259, all right, that looks okay. We could even hit play to look at this. All right, that's going to work out well. All right, so from here, we can go ahead and hide our curves to see if we like the little animation that we've done to the arm. It's really quick. Might look really nice when we if you were to motion blur it too. So I think it's going to be fine. What we do want to do now is basically repose the fingers, okay, to reflect the character's attitude here. So on 235, let's press the S key, okay, to lock in the pose there, and then about one frame after the character goes into his final pose, we'll go to 242 and just give the fingers a little bit more of an interesting pose, bringing up the index, bringing back its root, going to the middle finger, bringing that up, going to the ring, and then adjusting the pinky as well, maybe just the last two attributes for it. And then we could even adjust the thumb, maybe bringing that down in the Z. And then we can see how this looks in the shot camera. All right, that looks interesting. Of course, the fingers are going to start closing up because of the pose that we've added where the hand grabs the hat. So going back to our finger control, can just undo a few times so we get there. Can add a little bit of movement here. Let's say we take the pose on 245, middle click on about 260 and press S, so that they're still moving when the character exits the scene. Great. All right, there we have it. So now we can bring our attention to the right arm. Can go to the perspective and work on that same circular pattern. We've already added a key for the follow switch set to world on frame 236, so that's fine. You could just start having this arm move down and rotate the wrist. On 237, maybe you can start bringing this arm down, and we'll definitely need to fix this arm elbow, so we'll bring that back. Okay, we want to be mindful of the silhouette as well. .238, we can bring this arm back and up. And remember, we're just really paying close attention to what we'd see in more of a side view, being that that is the angle at which our camera is in. Great, so this is going to work out pretty nice. On 239, we can fix the wrist so that it's rotated down, so that by 240, we have a nice snap as he enters into that pose. And then we can even look at this in the shot camera just to make sure we like what we're getting. It looks like on 239 we can bring up the hand a little bit more here. And then on 240 maybe bring it down. Alright, that looks better. And then we could start to make it rise at about 247. Just bring it up a little bit higher. And then rotate the hand down. And then on 260, as the character exits, let's go ahead and just bring the hand down here. And then maybe even rotate it upward. just so it's still moving as the character leaves. Okay, so from here we can go ahead and hide our curves and look at how this looks. Hitting play. Alright, great. And if we're not quite seeing too accurately what's happening within our scene, of course we could do a play blast. So that might not be a bad idea to do right now before we get to finishing up the fingers for the left hand. And here's what we end up with. Great. Well, our arms are just about finished. What we will just spend time doing now is just working on the fingers. Okay, for that left hand, so we can pretty much call it done. So let's get back to our scene and finish it up. So, going back to our perspective camera, we'll go to our left finger controls, and again on frame 235 we'll press the S key to lock in the fingers pose there. And then by, let's say about 243, to add a little bit of offset here, we go ahead and start bringing up the fingers, okay, to improve their silhouette and so that they look more interesting than they do now. Maybe even bring down the pinky and then bring up its mid and end. And then for the thumb, we can probably have that move out. And then let's go ahead and see how this looks. Go to the shot camera. Alright, great. That's going to work out just fine. If you like, you can always go to about just before the animation is over and maybe just add a little bit of movement so that the fingers don't just stop. Okay, just really small adjustments here. Nothing much, just so we can see a little bit of movement. Alright, great. And that'll be just fine. Okay, well, with that now done, our next task is going to be to work on seeing what we could do to the upper body as the character leaves. And that's pretty much going to be our last task for this animation. Okay, so what we'll do is, again, bring our focus onto the upper body as the character exits in the next lesson.